Stock and Options Trading Unlocked.
If you want to learn how to make 6 or 7 figures a year trading 2 hours a day, this is the show for you.
We're here to talk about everything trading, weekly news, tips, and special guests to get you motivated and profitable.
Don't forget, everything you hear is opinion only and not to be considered financial advice.
Here are your hosts, Atul Patel and David Picard.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. How's everyone doing?
So I hope there isn't lag. At least to me, it's looking like there's a little bit of lag, but off my computer. But I'm not sure what I can do about it at this point, guys. So just forgive us if there is if you're seeing some lag. I'm hoping it is just on rendering for me, but let me know. Let me just do a quick post, let everyone know. But yeah, how was your day, Dave?
It was excellent. Took only had about 2 trades today, but it was a good day. Took a short in the beginning of the day on that first pop against kind of yesterday's high. It was just quarter size, gave me a small opportunity to add, not the full size, but took some profits, went well. And then you made a beautiful call out for the long side to go long off when it pretty much bottomed. And I was able to catch that right up with you.
Yeah.
How about yourself? How was your day?
That was not bad. I mean, it's I didn't get the size in that I wanted. And I had tried getting in a little bit early. Actually, the problem I ran into today, psychologically, was I was impatient. I became impatient because I knew exactly what was going to happen. At least for me, it was a given. And I had a certain size that I wanted to get to. And I was getting in a little bit early as soon as I saw the pop starting, and then it would dip. And I'm like, ah. And, if I was patient, I could have just murdered it today. I'm talking like 5 to 100 grand type thing. Like that was my plan really, and I didn't since I was getting in later than I wanted. And I had taken a couple of smaller losses earlier. I had to size down, and I was just in a little too early because I was like, I knew the whole plan was this dip and then a rip, red to green, and so I was impatient. I didn't follow my rule for waiting for that. I wanted to wait for the full first hour to let the market kind of show itself, and I was just getting in on those a little bit early. But even with that early entry, though, just being patient, those still went 10x today.
Yes.
But it could have been 20 to 25x. So I just want to send a quick tweet to get other people to join us. Other people.
Perfect. Send it out. I'm just looking at the charts to review the trades from today.
Yeah, so we're gonna do something different today, guys. We're gonna go through our usual, and then we're gonna, instead of talking about a course, we're gonna sorry, I mean not course, but instead of talking about those topics, we're actually gonna review charts together today. So I'm excited about that. So with that, let's go ahead and move into market madness.
Madness.
Yeah, and for some reason the transition didn't come in, but that's okay. Let's talk a little bit about the market.
Markets have been wild. They've been wonderful. Great moves.
It's we're finally doing it. I think I was like one pop early about that move. Remember I was talking probably about a month ago where I was saying I'm looking for this 410, 420 to move.
Pretty much hit it in after hours, right?
And
972.
Yeah, and so it's playing out. I mean, we basically got that double bottom. Um, I'm putting a video out a little bit later today that talks about basically our pre-market prep that we had this morning, and then what happened. And so that was kind of cool because actually, like the analysis on SPY the last couple weeks, I think for these major moves has been like ridiculously spot on.
Been spot on, yeah.
So the crazy thing is that we're just ripping, right? We actually, the move from last week and that dip that we had. Remember, I was talking about like shorts getting trapped, like that whole thing. I think because I wanted to load up short, but it's too much. It's just like if you're a momentum person, at a certain point, the sellers exhaust. And that's what I felt we were at. And we need this bounce. We need this relief. And then what happens to that is you get the fakers, everyone who's hardcore bears gets in short, thinking it's another leg down starting. But that's where the trap, I think, that happened on that last dip that we got. And then we basically back tested the breakout and we did the big move. So it's really interesting because we're having rips on bad earnings, and then we're having rips on good earnings, and then we're having occasional yanks on some names because their earnings are bad. So it's a little confusing.
Sometimes it's on guidance. It's really been hit and miss.
Yeah.
To be honest. And that's one of the reasons I normally am not, swinging and holding stuff through earnings, especially just because it's wild card. I like to play the reaction.
Yeah, no, I know, but I think right now I started saying, like, when was the last time you saw me starting to do swings? The last couple of weeks is where you started seeing me talk about swing trades, and that's because there's a shift.
Well, I think there's some great opportunities setting up, absolutely.
Yeah. But I think we're going to be getting a short opportunity. I think what we're going to run into is starting to get some chop again after this move, like because market's not going to know what to do between 410 and 420. It's going to be really confused. I think it's going to rip, but then where do we go from here? Right. And I don't think we're going back. I mean, what? They're still raising. They were still raising. Inflation's still there. They're still. It's kind of a weird situation. So I don't think the bottom's in yet. But we'll see. I'm
100% with you. I'm just pulling up the daily on SPY, looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah, I know it's going to be really interesting. Like, what happens, and I mean, even the Fed, like what they were saying, it was bearish. When my interpretation was it's bearish news. Like we're going to be really hawkish. We're very worried. Meanwhile, market's rallying.
And part of it could be is they're going, okay, well they're worried, which means they're going to support the markets, right? And that could be they didn't anticipate them coming out saying that. They were maybe thinking they're going to go, oh, everything's we're being able to tell off the inflation. It's coming in, right? Enough that we're thinking everything's okay.
Yeah. And it was interesting was Yellen said something today that was like market supportive. And I can't remember what she said, but I was like, oh, now they're back to pumping the market. And, like they gave all this other hawkish commentary, but then they're like, gave some indications of maybe not. So we'll see. We'll see what next, inflation numbers come out. And if they're still bad, then that's where I think maybe in August, September, we're going to get something out of that. But let's talk about the $1,000 bets. What do you say?
Let's do it.
Okay. So these transitions are not coming in for some reason. So that's okay though. Let's talk about this one. So this was one from today, and oh, I'm sorry, this is blocking it. So let's take the notes. But basically, this is the 4050s. That I was looking at the 4020s at $5 and the 4050s, and those are at $2. And so these were like 60 cents right here, right? And this is that 399, that dip. And basically we were looking for the dip. And then you see this blue line is what I call the red to green line when we're going from red to green. And then we're, targeting our levels that we had up here. And this is SPX, so I don't have the level there, but on the SPY charts it does. But it pretty much did what we planned. So what's crazy and wild about SPX is if you know where your targets are and where it's going to go, you can figure out what your potential gains are and what your sell price should be. And so I know from experience that, hey, if we get to 404 50 or so, I'm going to be able to sell. I should be able to sell the 40-50 calls for $10 to $15. So if I can get these for $2 and it goes to my target, my first target, is it worth the risk to take it for $2?
Yeah.
And then if it goes on to do more, that's all gravy, right? We go to $20 to $40. But $2 to $12 in between, say 10 and 15. I mean, that's 10x on your capital. Is that right? No, I'm sorry, 5x. Yeah, that's 5x.
I'll take 5x any day.
Yeah. So so for a $1,000 bet, that's 5 contracts at $2. And if, let's just say you sold some here and then you sold some into the end of the day, maybe say you had a $17 average. That's a $6,500 profit. And then if you just and if you sold everything at $12 and you just made $10, that's still $5,000 on 5 contracts. And then if you held all the way to somewhere up here, you could have made as much as $18,000 on $1,000. It's a crazy day, but it all comes to planning, and then targeting, and then being patient. So it's pretty cool. I have to walk away pretty much, like put my stops in and walk away. Otherwise I sell too early. I sell too much too early.
Very easy to do that at times, right?
Yeah. And but if you have that bigger picture plan, the way I like to do it is sell a bunch here. If I get 5x or 10x on my risk, I'm selling at least half, and then I can ride the rest and let it do whatever it wants to do. So it's pretty cool day.
Great.
Let's talk about let's actually get into the charts. I mean, I want to make sure we spend enough time. Do we have any? I know we had some chart requests in Twitter.
Let's start going through them.
Yeah. So let's move over.
Why don't we just start with SPY and maybe Qs, go through that, and then let's start going through the requests. Just why don't you give an overall, kind of summary view of the market for everyone, how you like to go through it. I'll pull up in the meantime the requests.
Sounds good. And then folks, if you hop into the YouTube channel, there's a chat window. Feel free to hop in and say hello.
I'll keep my eye there as well.
Hi, Candy Closed Coated Closets.
It's Sinera, if I remember and pronounce that correctly.
Let's see. Sorry, I maximized the wrong thing. Let's hide that again. And what we want is, let's bring up the daily chart.
Always good. I like starting a bigger picture, walking my way. That's how I like to look at something when I'm not trading necessarily the focused intraday.
Right. So anyways, let's clear all these drawings. Clear drawing set. Sorry, for some reason my system is being really slow. Okay.
All right. So got some requests. Just
Yeah, no,
I have them written down, but
perfect.
I'll let you go through your stuff and get started. We got some requests for kind of the semis, looking at SMH, the ETF.
Yeah, we'll do that.
We got Nvidia, good old SPX, which we're already going to kind of talk about through SPY, unless you want to cover that separately. We have a request for Snow, as
Okay.
well as Tesla.
Okay, we'll go through one of them, each of them at a time. So let's look at SPY here. So we basically filled this gap. We had these two gaps filled flush. This failed breakdown, rip, back test this breakout, and now we're pushing higher. So overall, I think we're in to test basically this 420 to maybe even as much as 430 if we get the kind of squeeze. I think it'll end up getting, maybe it'll struggle right around 420, 423, 424, right into this area right here, into this this zone. But I think that's where we're headed. And then, then that's where I'm going to be looking for downside again. And then I think we're going to basically move into some chop between maybe 390 and 420 for a little bit, for another month or two, while market, digests whatever more information comes out on inflation and whatever else is going to be happening. But for anybody who bought here on some of these names and it goes up into 420, 430, they're going to be looking at 50% plus gains inside of 2 to 3 months. I wouldn't be surprised to see some profit taking. Okay. And especially if we're not out of the woods, right? I just don't see us going up here. I just don't see it. If we did get to 430, 440, 35 or something like that, I have to just load up some leaps on the put side, probably.
I agree. Just looking at not just the prior areas of support that were broken that should turn into resistance, also the prior measured moves, they line up pretty well with those areas.
Absolutely.
Looking at the different swings. So I think that's spot on.
So that's where I'm kind of looking for. It's roughly this 420, 422, just a little bit of some overshoot, gap up or something. Probably this will hit that probably next week. And then I'll be looking at some shorts for some dropping. The question is, are we going to get something like this? I don't know. Right? I don't know what catalyst or news would come out to trigger that. So it's pretty neat. What should we look at next? Which one, Dave?
Well, let's look at Qs real quick, just to see if there, I know sometimes we have some strength and weakness in each. See if you see anything different there.
Okay. Q should be 310-ish, if I remember. I haven't. I was so focused on SPY today. I'm not sure what it is after hours. Must be, so 310. So same thing this time. I think we're looking probably 330 on Qs. I think it'll pop through this, or we're at least going to test 320. I think be hard to. I don't see how we don't test 320 next week. Possibly as much as 330, 335, or so, and then back down, right? So, we'll see. The market's kind of a wacky thing. Maybe they have enough people believing that there's one more leg down that we don't have one, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I have to stick with my conviction, which is that we will.
All right. Let's go into SMH now. Let's look at the ETF for the semis.
Yeah, let's take a look. Yeah, so this is a nice dip right here. We have a push. Resistance is similar, 240 to 250. I would probably be looking at this 250 area if we get there as a potential short entry. I would love to get that. you know, the challenge here. So this is the daily chart, but we gotta let's go take a look at the 3-year weekly.
Yeah, and the one thing to remember, I know the person who requested this also requested Nvidia. We also had Intel earnings today, and I believe they were not good at all.
Yeah, they
I
dropped
think they're down
10%.
10%, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I think they were like estimates 69 cents. Their actual were 29 cents. So they're down like,
Yeah.
10%, over 10% right now.
Right. I mean, it's conflicting. Plus, we have conflicting information. I mean, not conflicting, but we also have the chips bill. I think
I
that's
was
going
just
to Biden.
You got the bill passing, right?
So which way are things gonna go, right? We'll have to look at their ER for Intel. Like, what was the source or cause of their miss? Was it sales? Was it investments?
Supply
Issues?
right? Yeah.
Um,
The materials, stuff like that,
Right.
costs. So I think that's a tough one to look at. There's a lot of conflicting info. I agree.
But yeah, this 250 area seems within striking range. And then we'd have to see from there, but 240 to 250. And then maybe we get back into the chop. Nvidia.
And they have earnings on August 24th.
Yeah, so they have ER in a month. They've got, I mean, this thing can rally. I'm kind of thinking that this wants 200 again. 195 to 210 area, and then that would be a nice short entry to come back. But I mean, this was a pretty nice long opportunity. I was looking for 130 to 135 and missed it. And then 160 crossed. Remember that 160 was a huge level from before, so that was a nice reclaim that we had this week, or it was last week actually.
I was gonna say, I think it was last week. It was a great trade though.
Oh yeah, that was a nice one, wasn't it? Forgot about that. Long.
That's why I was like, I think we had some good plays off that though.
Yeah, we did.
I know we didn't get the 135, but there was a good trade off.
You get the higher low. We have previous support reclaim. Now it's in motion.
Excellent.
So what I see here, near term here, is this 180. We clear this 180, 181. Probably this 190 to 195 is what I'm targeting. With a potential bonus round up into 203 or so. 203 to 205, 210.
Yeah, and I think if you're interested in this for tomorrow, I would just be either dig into what happened with Intel or be mindful of that and maybe look at the PA before just jumping in.
I think the question's from Mo Busy, right?
It is. It is.
So so Mo Busy, make sure you do dig into whatever's going on with Intel. Because there might even be actually a long opportunity in Intel if they're going to benefit significantly from the chips thing and the rest of the other semis are rallying. They might just get dragged back up.
I think I mentioned that when we were talking about some swing stuff the other day, but I mentioned that because they had earnings, it's kind of, I wanted to wait, see how it plays out. But yeah, I think it could be along with that. If I remember, an opportunity looking at like 45, 48 levels back if it gets going. Yeah. Pull back up the chart though. Switching around too quick.
So let's see. We have a comment about the trading live. We do, and for our mentoring group, for the THT mentoring group, we do have live. Where we're on voice talking through trades that we do. So we do that. Let's see, what's the next ticker, Dave?
Snow.
I have not looked at this chart in probably a couple weeks, I feel. Maybe a week. Let's see where it's at. I'm kind of thinking it's maybe rallied a little bit. Oh, it hasn't.
And I real quick, sorry, before we dig in, Andy, I know you mentioned SPX. We did cover SPY, so we generally go off of SPY. And there's between a 10 to 15 point differential on those two charts that we kind of use as our guide. Spectre, you want to add anything on that?
Yeah, no. So just as a quick tip, so I just use SPY, and then for SPX, if my target is, for example, is 410, then if SPY gets to 410, then my expectation is that SPX is going to be at 40, 41.11. Yeah,
Yeah,
to
close.
44
Right.
to yeah, if it's 410, yeah, then it's going to be 411.10 to 411.15 would be my target roughly. Okay, so what I just do is I just shift a decimal and add 10 to 15 for my targeting. But essentially I use SPY. And so what I'm doing is while I'm trading SPX, I'm watching what's happening in SPY, and when SPY hits a level from our watch list, I'm immediately selling. I'm actually I more than likely will have already had sell orders in advance. But if I don't, I'm going to be selling some, if not a bunch, especially when it hits a level, depending on how fast of a move it was.
Just good practice to do it.
Yeah, I
Works out more than not that it bounces. If you want to add back in, you have that opportunity. It's crazy. You know?
Yeah, it works. I don't know what else to say.
And thanks. My chart was taking a while to load up snow for some reason, so
Okay.
I was giving myself time.
All right, so snow, we have it up. So it looks like it's a good spot. Who brought up snow? I want to kind of say thank you.
Snow was Alex Avila from
Hi, Alex.
Twitter.
Thank you for bringing snow up. It's basically near this point of control. This right here, you can see this at 143, 145 area. And if the market, with the market rally, this is also kind of maybe gapped up a little bit. We could look for a dip, hold, and maybe this pushes back 155, 160, right? But the question is going to be, what kind of selling do we have in this 146 area? Okay. But for now, if this is a higher low, bigger picture wise for the market, this could be turning up. Yeah. And we'd shoot for this 160. This could actually go way up, but again, the question is risk on versus risk off. And I don't know what Snow's PE is right now, but I believe that this 100 to 110 area, 120 was an attractive price to be owning it. If I remember what people were thinking, and the price action seems to show that at 130, there was a lot of volume here, so there's some buying down this way. Which has been kind of interesting, and I kind of regret not scooping AFRM. When it dipped down to 16, I was like, God, that's actually a pretty good price for them. And then this was like over here on this dip, I think it was put right here. I just noticed it in pre-market. I was like, oh, that's kind of not a bad, double bottom right here. It's not a bad risk reward. And then I've been watching it, boom, 30, come back here. So this one might, rip through 26 here soon, and head higher. If it, I wouldn't mind getting another month or two of consolidation before it does start going, but it's had 1, 2, 3 months of consolidation. If it does clear this 2980, 30 area, decent probability of a move into 36, 37 to 40. It could do it very quickly on AFRM. I know that wasn't requested by anyone, but just
okay.
I'm paying attention too.
Yeah.
What else do we have, guys?
Let's see. Tesla. Good old Tesla. A fan favorite, one of our favorites. Love it.
Now, this one, I remember seeing, hat tip to the black box folks. I remember seeing an alert a couple days ago when we dipped into this low, that someone was buying 850 calls for $1. He's hit like $14 this morning, or $12 or something crazy this morning. So that would have been a 10 bagger, and they were like $4 yesterday, And today they opened up really high, dipped $4, $5, $6. Or did it come down all the way to 260? I don't remember. Maybe it did. But anyways, good dip opportunity into the lows today, and then it's rallied back. So now, to me, this looks like I was surprised at how much selling there was at 840, but it did kind of, sludge its way over it and hold 840 later. So I kind of think this is gonna. I kind of think we're gonna squeeze up into 900, 880 to 900 by next week. Maybe go to even 925. Yeah. And then maybe exhaust, but we'll see. I mean, there still has their Twitter overhang, right? For how's that going to be financed and paid for, and will it trigger a bunch of selling? So I think that's some concern here. So thoughts on what caused the HKD run? So I'm not familiar with HKD. Do we have more tickers? I want to make sure we caught all of that.
Yes, we do. We do, but let's look at HKD.
Okay.
That's okay. We'll go to that. Oh. I don't know. I'd have to look this up.
Well, what are they?
No.
Oh, yeah. This is just some. It's a penny stock, I think, if I'm assuming. I mean, it's moving like a low flow penny stock. So
That's what it moves like, but they must have done like a reverse split or something.
No, that's not a reverse split. That's a squeeze. Full on short squeeze. It started here. There's $20, ripped into 60, dipped, consolidated, came here. These guys are sweating bullets, and now they're wrecked. That's the only thing I can think of. This is, I mean, I've traded this kind of action before. It just was never on my radar. So I don't know what's details on this. See if there's any news.
That's what I'm trying to look up now.
NASCAR All Out. I'm assuming you've got some news on this. Can you tell us a little bit about it? Or was this just a top list that you saw? Oh, it debuted at $10.
Yeah, this is an IPO. It's a recent IPO.
Wow. Well, then somebody really mispriced.
Yeah. That's a pricing issue.
Yeah, this was high demand. Someone screwed up the pricing because no reason, I mean, this should happen. Now, this is one of those where
it's also a Hong Kong-based company doing an IPO.
And what's the float?
In not the best market for that, right? There's a lot of political turmoil right now between the countries, so.
Yeah, so I mean, you got to look at what the float is.
Oh my God.
I'm assuming
16 million shares.
Yeah, that's why.
780 a piece. They raised 125 mil.
Yeah, no, that's what happened. And then what happened is this thing goes from 20 to 60. And this was opened it probably opened at 780, right? You said they priced at 780. It opened at 18. People get excited. And then this kind of a run here is going to bring shorts. And they're going to add, and they're like, oh, okay, that's okay, no problem. I mean, it's gone 4x or 5x. I mean, it's got to come back down. So then they add more here. Okay, hey, I'm cool. I'm going to make some money. As soon as it gets back under $20 or it goes to 25, $30, I'm going to be able to make a killing. But then it doesn't. And then when you have so few shares, it doesn't take a lot of volume. It doesn't take a lot of shorts that have to cover. And, it's not a surprise. Look, you short here.
You borrow? Can you short this on IB?
Somebody must have. I don't know. I mean, I didn't try.
Faucet's not allowing you to. I was curious.
Yeah.
Must be somewhere.
But I'm pulling up the information on it.
Yeah.
Let's see. There's not even information. It's so new on Finviz. So, yeah, I mean, here's the crazy thing. You see this parabolic move in action? We get this in options. without having
Daily.
to go through research and digging into this whether something is shady and what the situation is.
It's very true.
I mean, there's definitely opportunity, right? There's definitely opportunity. I used to trade all this, but there's a reason I moved to options because I'm lazy. Right? Yeah, it should be a decent short opportunity until it goes to 500. But I mean, you got to be able to cover is the only point, right? And or you got to have deep pockets to handle whatever craziness that might happen. But if you can get borrows here and you can get a double top something, seems like a reasonable risk reward, right? Just got to be prepared for a 30 or 40% overnight squeeze or move, right?
Easy. Yeah.
If you even have borrows, I mean, that's the other thing. So
That's what I was saying. I'm
like
like,
what
I
I
don't know. I'd have
found
to look
out,
on
what
IB.
I've
I don't
been
have IB
into,
open
even
right
with
now.
IB, you have to kind of go to some specialty brokers for shorting stuff like this. That I couldn't even get borrows at IB on some things.
Yeah.
And at that point, I was just like, okay, I'm finding all these great trade opportunities, but I'm not able to get the shares. I don't want my business to be held hostage, and I don't want to be paying all this crazy money for these shares. And I decided it's not really what I wanted to trade because I wanted to focus on being able to trade a couple of hours a day, position, put the thing in, put my stops in, and be done and go do something else. And I can do that regularly with the options market, and I don't have to worry about after hours action so much because I'm scalping intraday. And so I made that change in the way I trade. Because, guys, I used to trade this stuff yeah, a lot, and it's kind of like, and I still can leverage this knowledge into regular stocks. Like way back when we had the Tilray run or BYND run, I was sharing my thoughts and targeting and those momentum moves, and they did some crazy stuff, right? So let's get back into some of the main tickers where that folks can trade.
Let's see. Do you have anything else from
Because
you?
so one of the things I really look for is because of the following and the community and everyone, I want to make sure that we're trading liquidity, that we're trading
Very
names
true.
with liquidity, right? Every now and then there'll be stuff that I want to trade, but if there's a $5 spread on the options, I personally don't want to be playing in that, right? I want liquidity. If I want to get out, I want to be able to get out. If I want to get in, I want to be able to get in. Do I miss opportunities there? Absolutely. Okay. But it's just something I've chosen to do because I don't like having those spreads. So I like to focus on some of the names, and SPY, SPX right now, while they're having range and liquidity, I mean, they've always had liquidity. While they have range, they're incredible payers. So, it's something to take advantage of. Okay, next ticker.
So I think we should talk about Amazon, Microsoft, Google. I think those are all great ones.
Okay.
I'd like to look at a trade I kind of mentioned the other day, GLD. Get your thoughts on that.
Okay.
Potentially HD if possible. See what you think. Always like your analysis. But let's get the big boys that have just reported.
I'm so gonna cry. Sorry, this chart makes me cry. So I had bought these calls.
What are we looking at? Amazon first?
And because I had a rule set that if we go back over 122 and get over this 122.30, I'm gonna buy calls. But then I was just looking at them and I'm like, why are the 123 calls $60? Because I'm doing the math of $3 and they were $3 on the 123s. And I'm like, God, someone's expecting a big move. And anyways, I'm like, okay, well, I'll just deal with it tomorrow. And I forgot that there was earnings today, and I just sold it. And I have a little spilled milk feeling right now because I was like, if basically in my mind, if we crossed 122.30, that's going to trigger a huge rip, right? And so I was like ready for that to happen tomorrow. And I was like, okay, I'll come and deal with it tomorrow. But then earnings, like, rules and rules. But you know, it was set up because this was like this whole if there was going to be real weakness in this name, we should never have come back over 120. Right? Remember where that breakdown with Walmart, right? If there was real selling, it never should have come back and reclaimed 120. But the fact that it did, to me, signifies that, hey, there's some buying ahead of this ER. So, it is what it is. So the question is, where do we go from here, right?
Yeah.
So right now, this is the equivalent of Amazon back at 2,800. And so if it wants to go back to 3,000, 3,200, it's got another 20 points.
Amazing.
And
great opportunities there.
Yeah, so there's you know, and it's Friday tomorrow, so we'll see what we can find. I'll have to go through and chart this up, but we're basically, you know, what was it, 134, 140 now?
Well, 139.
Yeah. So we're basically filled this gap. I don't think we're going to go to 160. I think that's going to be that's a big stretch. I think tomorrow the play will be to look for the gap up reversal setup, profit taking. Maybe 145
going into a weekend.
145 to 150. We get a push up into that area. That's kind of my plan for tomorrow then. 145 to 150, push, fail, break VWAP, profit taking.
135?
145.
Or then goes back.
Oh, I would target 130 to 135.
Okay. So I was thinking. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
makes sense.
I'm gonna have to go through their ER and see. I mean, maybe there's something in there that says no, this should really go back higher. You know, and we might be a couple days early. It may need to have 3 days of buying. And if it does, and it goes up to 150, 155, and then stalls there, then maybe the short comes next week on Tuesday or Wednesday. So we'll see. But there will be a big trade opportunity in Amazon, if not tomorrow, early next week. Absolutely. Should be excited about that, folks. Okay, what other ticker? So you said Amazon. Let's talk about.
Let's do Microsoft. This was the one that I
beast. So I underestimated.
This was the one I'm like upset at myself. It was 270s yesterday for under $1.
Yeah, we had the 265s for 230. Yesterday. And then my target was, I was thinking 280. It's 280 overnight. Nope, it hasn't got there. Okay. So yeah, so I'd be shooting for this 285 to 290. Maybe even it does a little bit more to fill this gap right here. If it does fill this gap into 297, 300, probably a great short opportunity. Remember, their ER was tremendous. So right here, that it made this whole move makes a lot of sense because like it seems like safe money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this could even go. It could be hit 297, 295, at least 290 into 285 to 290 next week. And then I would probably look for some profit taking up in that area, 290s to 300, if it gets there, and then chop back down to 280 to something like that, 280, 285, down into this volume area, and then chop around. Okay, Microsoft.
You want to look at Google?
Let's look at Google. That was also a nice. Oh, we nailed that this week.
Smoke that thing. What did we get in on those? What were they? The 110?
Yeah, remember I said 108 dip. We had the level for it to dip into 108, and then to take the 110 calls on that dip.
What did we get those for?
$1.
Was it $1? I thought so.
Yeah, $1 shot for 9, and the lower day was 90 cents.
But it ran to, I think,
113-ish, 113.50, 114.
That was yesterday. Am I losing it?
No, that was yesterday. And then my target on that was 113 to 115, and maybe 118 by end of week.
113.91 yesterday, I ran to. Yeah, those were beautiful. I mean, we were out of the money at the time. Gorgeous call on those, in the money, and then they
went immediately in the money, and then just kept. Yeah, I mean, there's just. See, I like getting in when I can get in really cheap, put the stop in, and it never comes back to that price. That's my goal.
That's the best.
Yeah. Yeah. So, anyways,
Perfect plan.
I think So I think my thinking is 118, 120 comes on Google. Now remember their ER actually had it had a weak ER, didn't it? Or am I confused?
I believe it was a little weak.
Um,
Yeah, I got to dig through all the ERs. I'm going to do that over the weekend.
yeah. So what we want to look for is names that have bad ERs and that are running, because those are the ones that once this turns should get some selling immediately. But I'm expecting this range to be tested, at least 118. I don't know if it's going to have the juice to break over 120. If it does clear 120, 124 to 126 would be my target.
Yep.
Okay. So I'll see what that's going to do. Yeah. Finn, those 110s were beautiful, huh?
Yes, they were. Excuse me, guys. Sorry.
Okay, so we had Google, Microsoft. Let's take a look at Apple. Daily chart. 162. Man, I'm so bummed on this. I had like my orders ready to scoop 120, 125 for Apple. That was my target. I was wrong. 130 is where it bounced.
Yep.
Off by $10. That's frustrating. But it did give an opportunity as early as the for the beginning of the month to jump in around on this right here, 135.
Like 135 pullback.
Yeah, this pullback into 135, and now it's here. So, Apple's doing okay. I mean, it's like another thing with Microsoft, right? So let's see if we can get this to 165, 165, 167.50. Remember, even when the rest of the market was dumping, this was holding near highs. So I think this could do 167 to 170 again, maybe. I have to go look at their ER, but I would be looking for shorts into that. So, and profit taking. Because you got to remember
166, 170. Is that what I heard?
I think 166 to 170. We're at 161, 162 right now.
Yeah, I'm just looking on the chart, seeing the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, right here could be one. Otherwise, I mean, really 172, 171, 172. If it can, but if we get enough gap, for some profit taking. But, we've had a huge run, so I'm kind of looking for that blow off. But I'm worried about we might get a gap and go tomorrow. But I'm overall looking for gap up reversal. It's not really supposed to do that. But if it does, fill the gap and holds, then we're looking at another rally next week for a couple days, 2 or 3 days. And
that's what I'm leaning towards.
And so I think, I could see that that's what happens is we basically do one of those pause moves, right? So we rip, dump, fill the gap, maybe dip a little bit more, and then rally again. But we'll see, because this is 1, 2, third leg here going. It's kind of it's overdue.
Yep.
Some selling. Yeah, so we talked about Nvidia. We talked about that. What else do we have on our radar? Coin, maybe of interest to some people. So it's holding. It had that negative news. Let's see if it can pop back. I'm looking for the 65, 66 area. If it can get to 66 and fail, I might consider a short position. But for now, with the market rally, this might chop around a bit more. But it does have earnings coming up August 9th. So maybe we get this pop, and then their earnings are horrible, and then maybe we get that drop into 30 to 40. it's really going to be about, some of this is going to be how are they mitigating this risk and stuff that they have going on with, they were selling securities that are unregistered, and according to the SEC. So we'll see what happens with that.
I think Elon's going to put in an offer just so he can go and battle the SEC one more time.
That could happen. I don't think it will, but
Sitting around. That was not serious by any means.
yeah, that would be funny. You look at Twitter, see what's going on with it.
It was on my list because of that, kind of like.
I mean,
it's interesting to look at. Actually, I looked at it a little earlier, thinking it might be worth taking a peek at.
It is setting up for a breakout. Actually, it's a failed breakdown. It gets over this level right here.
44.
41.
Get going.
Yeah, popping to 44. I would target that 44, 45. But yeah, I mean, look at this. Every dip has been bought. Look how many green bars are here. Dip bought, dip bought. I mean, ever since I think that court decision, it's looking like that he's gonna have to pay. But I mean, the upside is what, 54, $10 from here, 20%, 30%.
Yeah.
So.
See if
Getting
there's
images
anything.
in the SPAC. They came out with the redemption numbers after hours, and they're up 50%. Okay. Oh. PETY. Wonder who NASCAR All Out. Are you in our Discord by chance? Are you by any chance evil? Sorry, I have my hands in front of my mouth. Sorry about that, everyone. All right, so any other charts you guys would like to go through, or questions you have on certain chart formations or trends, or reading price action or anything? Well, so Dave, what indicators do you use? Since we have the charts up, maybe we should talk about indicators before we
For
call it a
me,
day.
I use VWAP, and that's really about it. I use the proprietary levels that are produced every morning through the service that you're running, and that's about it. I use those levels. Price action and VWAP. I love it. It's clean. It's easy.
Yeah, I mean, that's basically...
I do look at volume. That's not an
Yeah.
indicator, though. Sorry, I just wanted to
Yeah.
clarify.
I mean, there's the volume. I have volume profile, but mostly for when I have big moves happening. Otherwise, I
Yep.
kind of ignore it. But pretty much what I have is the levels my levels. I mean, they're kind of eerie.
Just a little. They
Right?
work well.
I mean, look at this. When it ripped, look how close it got to 403. I think it was within 20 cents of the level after a 800-point move. Right? Within 20 cents. Like, that's just nuts. Right? This is after the Fed. And so this is I use basically the levels. I use VWAP, and I use the previous day close. Which I really don't consider an indicator, right? It's just another level.
Yeah,
But that's basically it.
Absolutely.
So I don't have a bunch of moving averages. What I'm doing is I'm analyzing the levels, and I'm learning price action. Because if you think about it, what is an indicator? What does an indicator tell you? It is an accumulation of past information based on price action. But if I can just learn the price action, which is what those indicators are based on, then I can skip that. Right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you can see this. Hey, this is consolidating. hey, this is a failed breakdown. It made a new low, came up. Hey, it made a higher low over here and starting to go. Hey, crossed VWAP. Okay, anybody who thought that this was going to crap out, once it crossed VWAP, those are going to turn into shorts. I mean, those are going to turn into buyers.
Yeah.
And then we got this hard move, right? Remember this? I was just like, yeah, what was that happening today? I was like, oh, I think it's over VWAP, and you're like, no, it's not over VWAP on something. And I said, that's okay. Zoltar said it, or something like that. Or Zoltar, I think
You're
Zoltar
like, it's going. I'm like, it's going over VWAP.
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
But I mean, even to the point of planning, though, like we talk about so much in our business, right? You know, my trade today came from looking at the levels, right? The 403 level, as well as the yesterday's high, right? Where it kind of peaked out at and rejected at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
planning for that to happen. So these levels, watching price action is really what allows us to do it day in, day out.
I mean, look at this. Went right to this level, not 405 to 404.50.
We have a request for Roku, if we have time for that.
Yeah, we can do that. The okay, so Roku, let's take a look. Wow. So I mean, I guess these numbers are not surprising with the streaming stuff. Now I wonder what Netflix did. These got to be some new lows that we haven't seen in a long time on Roku.
Yeah, seriously.
Right? I mean, their business models, unless they go software or something, somewhat long-term dead in my mind. They're fighting an uphill battle.
Yeah, 2020. Haven't seen these.
I'm gonna have to go.
2019.
Yeah, so Netflix is also on watch for a big rally up into this gap, the fail the gap down. Talk about that. But yeah, so I mean, we're basically at this long-term, this 58 support right here, 58.60. So I mean, I don't even, if it breaks 60, I'll have to go through and figure it out, but it could really, like, I almost kind of think of it as
45, then 30.
yeah, I mean, it's basically we got 56 up here, which is where it broke out from before. Otherwise, we're looking at kind of like 30, 32, 35. And maybe they'll get some buying around 40. But first it has to break the 60, really. 58 to 60. Yeah, I have to go through and see what their earnings said. But just technically, I would be looking at, if 58 doesn't hold, I'd be looking for 52, 56 tomorrow. But because it's had such a big drop, I'd almost be looking for a short covering move to the upside, to maybe take to scalp to the upside and then maybe drop. So, all right. So I think that's it. We're kind of out of time. I want to respect everybody's time. So thank you. Please let us know if this was helpful going over these charts with folks. At the end of the day, we're just, we want to help everyone. We want to help you trade better, and give you some more information. So I hope this reviewing charts was helpful. if it wasn't, let us know that too, right? Let us know what could maybe have done we can do differently or better to help you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So thanks everyone for coming. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, so that and just also share what your challenges are. Right. We wanna help you. So feel free to reach out to ask@edamomo.com or support@edamomo.com, and we're here for you.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us. Have a great one, and we'll see you next week. Have a great trading day tomorrow. Remember, trade safe out there. It's Friday.
Absolutely. All right. Thanks, Dave. Take care, everyone.